It is the AIRTEC Motorsport Fiesta ST240 Championship. These really are little turbo tin tops, little mini touring cars to give some of the future racing stars a good step up and platform from those who are racing in the Fiesta Juniors or beyond if you want to try a different challenge in tin tops. And from qualifying, it's a familiar car at the front of the field. It is in fact Alistair Kellett, who was the champion from last year, who takes car number 1, and he will start from pole position on the front row of the grid. But I think the car possibly he raced last year is alongside him on the front row of the grid in the platform with Jack Sant, who is a Fiesta Junior graduate. First senior race, there's a couple of those in the field from last year. He starts on the front row of the grid. Graham Colfer comes next. He was impressive last year, but will start on the second row of the grid. He's alongside George Foxlow, who did double duty last year in ST150s and ST240s. He's got third place in the championship and second in... He was in the top 3 in both championships. We'll cover that at least. But second row of the start for him. Gary Miller, who was a championship contender last year in P5, I have to say already my favourite livery on the grid. We'll get to that in a second if we can show it on the stream when we get to it. He's alongside the returning John Cooper, who missed most of the season last year after a rather nasty incident at Alton Park when he tangled with Gary Miller, and it was deemed, as far as I know, racing incident apparently, but it was a rather large incident which sat him out for several races, but he came back for the end of the season, which is great to see. Then we have Kasper Tomilewski, who graduates from Fiesta Juniors to start P7 alongside David Nye, former Fiesta champion and BTCC racer. Then it's Luke Waugh and Simon Horrobin, one of the stalwarts of the championship, starting in the bottom of the top 10. Maggie Webster, who's the sister of former Fiesta ST240 champion Albert Webster, starting P11. You can't miss her in white and pink. Then you've got Brady Pollock, who is next City Car Cup racer, getting a lot more power than a City Car Cup car this time, right? Having a turbo tin top Fiesta ST240. He starts in P12 for his first Fiesta race. Then Harry Hayes and Sean Reynolds comes next on row 7. Marco Ricci and James Pope on row 8. And Simon Waugh and Matt Chambers round out the 18 car grid of this one. One thing I should mention, Marco Ricci back at Snetterton, I think for the first time since an incident we had where he came onto the back straight and his car ended up being, well, turning over several times end over end, which was not quite a memory for him. But thankfully he's back, and good to see. And as I anticipated, Alistair Kellett has a habit of pretty much winning the championship in a car, selling that car to somebody else, buying it, building another one, and then once he's done that, keep on selling it. So he has built a new one. And ironically, I think you'll find, keep tabs on this, so the car that he won the title in 2025 has been driven by, I think, by Jack Sant. And then he drove that car last year against George Foxlow, who's in the car Alistair Kellett won the title in 2024. So there's 3 of Alistair Kellett's cars are in the top 4. His new car 2026 starts on pole. His 2025 car starts alongside him on the front row of the grid, and then just alongside Graham Colfer, right behind him, physically right behind him, is his 2024 car. So technically, it's Alistair Kellett 3 times, which should be unbeatable. But it is in the form of Jack Sant and George Foxlow, 2 very fast young drivers. George, of course, has proven himself a fantastic young talent who did double duty last year in both Fiesta championships, and missed out on the ST150 title in heartbreaking fashion because he went onto the formation lap on the first race of the weekend, and barely got to Paddock Hill Bend, and his wheel fell off, which forced him to go into the gravel, and that was it, championship over. So unfortunately, he wasn't able to win the title. ST240s came on strong in there, picked up a top 3 in both those championships, and I think he'll be a definite title contender. But given how good Alistair Kellett is, when he gets into the groove, he's practically unbeatable. And the likes of Gary Miller, who's up there in 5th position, we want someone that's always tough to beat. He's come on pretty quickly on top of that too. I will be intrigued to see that the wild card could be Jack Sant. He's quick, and also Graham Colfer. That will be very intriguing to see how he gets on and how quickly he is on the front row. If he's that quick, given the fact in terms of pace, a very quickly look at the times he set. How close was he to Alistair Kellett? He was 6/10. It's not too bad for his first time, but again, I'm almost looking like I'm looking at Alistair Kellett 3 times on this. Like his history of everything going to Fiestas. This should be quite a mega race, shouldn't it?
It should be really good. Yeah, as you said, I think that seems to be quite a good business model for Kellett at the moment, doesn't it? Just get a car, show that it can do really well, and then sell it to someone else.
That's how he pays for next year's racing. He sells his other car, and that's his budget done for 2026. Perfect. So it's going to be intriguing. Of course, there's 2 classes, Pro and Am, which we'll get to throughout the race, because there's the Pros up towards the front in particular. It's an Am car on the front row of the grid. But we're all set then for the first AIRTEC Motorsport Fiesta ST240 race of the season. Lights out, and we are underway. It's a cracking start for all 3 of the Alistair Kellett cars. In fact, all 3 might be 1, 2, 3 by the time they get to the first corner. And look at Gary Miller darting out. Look as they spread out 2, 3, 4 wide. Kellett's actually been swapped by a lot of cars. It's now Sant who leads by the look of it. Yes, Fox has gone very sideways. He was very sideways on the left-hand side going off the road, and gets back onto it with minimal fuss, but he's still on the grass, gets back onto it. It's now Jack Sant in his first senior race full stop after out of juniors, leads the way. Simon Horrobin's in the mix, someone's trying to open the door already, that's John Cooper. Can't get out yet, John, close the door. And you might have to pit in for that one. It's going to be Stanton that leads. It's Colfer in second place. It's an AM 1-2 at the front, so the Pro cars are a little bit further back. 20 is Kasper Tomilewski, just battling with Maggie Webster. Both of them are Fiesta Junior graduates, but Maggie's had a season's worth of senior racing. She was out in the Fiesta ST150s at Brands Hatch last weekend. But Graham Colfer to the inside line at Agostini, and Gary Miller's up to third. Kellett's gone back to 4th position. Luke Waugh is up to 5th position from 9th on the grid. So in just a few corners, Rattis, it's gone practically absolutely bonkers in the first few laps in typical ST240 fashion, and we're not done yet.
Yep, indeed, 3 race leaders already in this one. Yeah, there was quite a bit of wheel spin off the initial getaway for Jack Sant, but he collected it up really well over the gear changes. I think it was actually from gear 2 to gear 3 where Alistair Kellett struggled. That's what stopped his getaway, and that's what's dropped him back into the pack. I think he's done pretty well, though. I think he's stabilised at about 4th place, so still continuing to battle in. There's George Foxlow, though. Was a bit more of a difficult start for him. Well off and wide. Again, another driver benefits from quite a long run-off there out of turn 1. He gets it back onto the black stuff, but he's got a lot of work to do through the rest of this race then. Luckily for him, we're back to 20 minutes here once again in the AIRTEC Motorsport Fiesta ST240s, and now Graham Colfer leads us through. But as the drivers now settle into proceedings, we're starting to see that lead group just close back in again, so it's certainly not done.
Definitely not. We've got plenty of time to try and settle this one as we go through the right-hander. And I was going to mention Gary Miller's car. If you look at it, if you're a fan of Australian V8 supercars, and I know a certain Rob Lewis is, you'll certainly appreciate the livery on that car, because it is very much akin to the Dick Johnson Racing Shell V-Power livery that you find in those cars that were likes of Scott McLaughlin raced before. That car now was always typically all plain red, but he's now put a white and yellow sort of accent onto it, and it looks very much like one of those cars that you find in Australian supercars from years gone by. End of lap number 1 as John Cooper has pitted, I think, to fix the errant door that's opened on his car. Looks like he had some contact with somebody that's forced it open. Miller, I think, is going to the inside looking for second. He questions tentatively, has the inside line to hook it round. The of course, limited slip diff on these cars helps you to hook the car around the corner. But Sant gets better punch off the exit of Wilson Hairpin. On the approach to Palmer's on the inside line. And Miller just trying to battle his way through if he can, but he can't make it stick. He's got his fellow Irishman behind. In fact, he's 3 Irishmen in the first 4 for that. So the drivers of the Emerald Isle have managed to kind of re-get to the front. It might be 3 of them in the top 3, because here comes Kellett to the inside of, well, Miller. It'll be 2 Irishmen swapping positions. There goes Miller for second. I was confusing Irishman there because I thought Jack Sant was the Irishman there as well. He might well be, but he could be wrong on that. So I think I probably am wrong. Anyway, moving towards the inside line for second place. Sant runs out wide onto the grass. Miller tends to kind of pretty much make a point of, I'm coming through, this is the line I'm taking, you choose where to go. And also look at 5th position, Kasper Tomilewski. Didn't have some of the most fastest and highest results in Fiesta Juniors, but in Fiesta ST240s, in his first start, is really up there. Jack Sant also was thereabouts in Juniors, but in his ST240s, these 2 junior graduates, they're taking it to the experienced hands, and they're giving them a run for their money.
They certainly are, yeah. Kasper's getting properly stuck in, isn't he? We've got Luke Waugh going with them as well. We saw him get shuffled out wide there a couple of corners ago, but he's back involved, and he's now looking to make moves there as we dive into the braking zone. But all of this is playing into the hands of Graham Colfer, isn't it? Look how much of a lead he's already breaking away with here, and now might be the move for second. Gary's got the inside line. Can Miller sneak on through? In behind, they're continuing side by side. This is Waugh looking around the outside of Tomilewski. They'll continue on side by side, even round the right-hander, but I think the move has been done then. Luke Waugh finally gets it stuck, and up into the top 5 he goes. Now, did we change ahead as well? Did we change to second? No, not quite. So good defense once again from Jack Sant. He keeps Miller and Kellett behind, which is mightily impressive. We know how experienced and the achievements that Miller and Kellett have been able to get over the last couple of seasons, is to keep them behind is impressive in and of itself.
Tell you what was also impressive, 4 AM drivers in the top 6. Of course, it's an AM driver leading on Graham Colfer, and in second place for Jack Sant. And also now we've got Luke Waugh, who started back in 9th. He's up 4 spots. He's the highest progressing driver in the field already at the end of lap 2. There's John Cooper with his now, I think, taped up door. At least it's been firmly closed. Peeling itself away at least, so he's getting a little bit of free air conditioning, although it's the wrong way. You want it the other way to get the air in, not on that point, but it's causing a bit of an air dam, so it's getting some impromptu air, I think, on the side of it, possibly an aero tweak.
Almost seemed to have happened before the first corner. I don't know what's happened there. I think maybe someone's moved out from their grid position and they've had a bit of a coming together.
Well, you did see there was some jostling, some cars moving out quite sharply, so maybe that was involved, and Cooper did start back in. Whereabouts did he start? If we go back to the way around the grid.
6th place.
Yeah, 6th on the grid. There was a couple of cars that were darting out to get out of the way, so I wonder if that was possibly something to do with it in terms of getting a good first phase of the start, but in the second one, a couple of the cars were checking up and not getting the right gear changes. There was a little bit of contact which caused that to happen. But when you've got cars on such a tight, narrow pit straight like Snetterton's, when you try to pick your way through, it's sometimes quite tricky, particularly when you're starting 2 by 2 side by side rather than staggered like the Fiesta Juniors do. It's not always easy to try and find track position in the mix as well. Rest of the top 10 I can see here. We've got Simon Horriban in 7th place, Maggie Webster's in 8th, David Nye in 9th position, and Brady Pollock in his first Fiesta ST240 race, holding his own in 10th, although I think with the man right behind him, he might not stay there for much longer, given that George Fox, though, is charging along. And Jack Santon actually closing on Graham Colfer and has triumph for the lead. So Miller and Kellett are the established front runners here, but the fact that we've now got Colfer, who was pretty strong at some points last year, and Jack Santon, who's in his first senior race out of Fiesta Juniors, we might get a slightly surprising first win of the season.
Indeed, that was an amazing middle section of the lap there for Jack Sant. As you can see there on the left-hand side of your screen, on the previous lap, over a second quicker was Colfer to build up that gap. But it's only taken a matter of corners here where Jack isn't having to think about the drivers behind, but he's closed back up to Graham Colfer. But look at this, it's all kicked off in the group behind then. So Kellett's through on Miller. That's got Miller wide. He's lost the momentum, and here comes the lights of Tomaszewski. War all getting back involved as well. Horrobin's not too far behind. Same with Webster. We're closing back into a big group, and here's a thought for the lead there into T1 as well. So Sant and Colfer now battling over the lead, and that's bringing Alistair Kellett back into the fray as well.
Of course we will, because it's 3-3 now pulling away. Miller, of course, having lost that lead, he's having to spend the last couple of corners and the pit straight defending from the cars behind him, which he has just about done. Tomaszewski doing a fine job in 5th position in white and orange. There's Horrobin in grey and orange. He's a veteran of the championship. He's been around for at least over 10 years, of course. Of other things he's also raced. He's raced a smart car, believe it or not, and done quite well on that too. But he's at home in Fiestas. He loves these cars, loves the championship, of course, and loves racing these turbo tin tops. He's very much at home here. He has sometimes sporadic form. He's sometimes in some circuits and sometimes in races he's up and pretty quick. Other times he sort of struggles a little bit, as that is now changed for the lead. Jack Sant getting his elbows out here. Now it's side by side for the lead, and now Colfer now under threat from Alistair Kellett's 2025 car, and his 2026 car with Kellett in it is right behind him. So it's now basically a state of deja vu, thinking, I've just been past one of Kellett's cars, now I've got the actual man behind him. Like, where do I look? It's like Spider-Man meme. Which one are you? Are you me or am I you? It's quite interesting to try and work that one out. But hopping through the right-hander, wheel hiking as they go up through the right-hander of I was trying to move the corner. It's Williams, isn't it, onto the Bentley straight. And there, of course, is number 9, which is David Nye, of course, former BTCC man and former Fiesta champion in the years gone by. I think in 2017 when it was a multi-class championship. But nowadays, of course, it's just one spec of car, the ST240. And Jack Sant in the lead here, still with half the race to go, 11.5 minutes, but leading the way, the Fiesta Junior graduate doing the championship, and of course himself and that car pretty proud.
Indeed, doing an amazing job, isn't he, now leading the way, where you can see the experience with Alistair Kellett as well. Saw him lose those few paces at the start. He didn't get in a tizzy with things, just settled back into the order, picked his way through, and now he's back up into the leading cobblers. That's a big off. That is Jack Sant, straight off down through the last couple of corners. Well, that is certainly one racing line to take there through sector number 3, but I'm not sure the stewards will be too happy with said racing line. He's going to carry on in the race lead, but I think he's going to have a bit of a talking to once proceedings are complete. I'm interested to see how he now deals with this one. Yeah, that's a very good point, because of course the camera switched to, we didn't see the initial part because it caught us all off guard, including our cameraman down at the complex at Coram and Murray's, so we didn't see exactly what happened. We saw the car spearing off. I can only imagine, speculate here, something between these three, possibly a side-by-side moment, and there must have been a moment where Sant got a little sideways and a twitch. All he could do was retaliate, and speaking of which, Luke War and Simon Horriban have come together, and almost been interlocked, so both of the orange accented cars have come together, and Luke War loops it around and carries on, but Simon Horriban looks like was the innocent party in that, and I think we'll try and restart the car if he can. There is Horriban trying to refire it. Whether he's stalled or not, have to wait and see. Of course, with a hot race engine, it's not easy to try and get underway. But you're absolutely right. How does Jack Sant deal with this? Because, of course, it might well be he just tries to race on. Because if he tries to back off and let Colfer through, he risks letting Kellett through on top of that as well. Of course, if he does let Colfer through, there's no guarantee he can get back past him with 10 minutes to go. So, ultimately, either Sant goes, look, do I just accept it and argue about it later? Or do I try and back off a little bit, find a smart place to do it, and try and slot in where there might be a gap in the background if I can look at my mirrors and see if I can let Colfer through without letting Kellett through past as well. That's a dilemma, but I think possibly Sant might feel, considering how he's racing, he might be going for the former option. Just race,
see where he ends up, and if he has to deal with it in the steward's office later, just deal with it that way.
Well, he's on the most amazing lap in a 2:08.2, hasn't he? I'm not sure that one's going to stand once this is all sorted out. But yeah, there's also the thought of, okay, we didn't see the incident happen, but if it was a move up the inside from the likes of Graham or Alistair, there might be the thought from Jack as well of, well, he wouldn't have got the move done, I would have held it there. So although I can drop back into place, I'm not going to give up a position that I don't feel would have been got anyway. Again, that's for things for people to discuss who are much smarter than us here in the commentary box. We'll let them carry on with that once race proceedings are done. For the moment, looks like Jack Sant is just dropping back, keeping the lead, but we'll see if Colfer and Kellett can re-chase it down. Here is Luke Waugh after that incident with Simon Horrobin, continuing to press on, and he's now got the likes of Reynolds and Ricci for company here. So where's he dropped then? Just out of the top 10, down into P11 for Luke Waugh. He's got a lot of company, so despite that incident, he doesn't have the time to settle back into things. He's straight into defending from these two as they now head down into the last couple of corners, but you can see the damage there on the left-hand side of Luke Waugh's car, so he's just having to nurse this one home, but at the moment, seemingly all okay.
Interestingly, you talked about the fact that Jackson did a 2:08 on that last lap because of the shortcut. His last lap he just did was a 2:12, so the 2 seconds he might have gained, he's now actually purposely not lost, so maybe they might look at the times and gone, well, he hasn't actually gained much of an advantage, of course, whether he was leading or not at the end of that previous lap. Of course, the telemetry will tell whether or not there was a moment where he was forced into that position or kind of made a mistake. But as you said, we're not clerks of the course or stewards. It's not for us to decide. All we can do is speculate and figure out what happens later on. But Jack Sant, at least I think he might argue, if you look at the lap times, I backed off enough to negate the 2 seconds I gained from making that shortcut. So he might argue he did enough to not gain an advantage. But then they might argue if he wasn't in front when that happened, then maybe that's the advantage he thinks that he got in front of himself. Rather than get tongue-tied, we're going to focus on what's actually matters, which is right in front of us here in the present day, which is this fight going on here between Sean Reynolds, Luke Waugh, who's recovering after that contact with Simon Horrobin, James Pope, Marco Ricci in the red Fiesta number 15, and just behind them as well there is Matt Chambers in the dark blue and pink machine in car number, his numbers now is 69. And Horrobin has carried on, but he's back in 17th place. He's obviously refired the number 60 Fiesta and continued on, whereas Cooper has also carried on as well, but he's ironically only 8 seconds behind him and actually gained a lot of time, giving him a 2 minutes 11. So keep an eye on whether he catches him before the end of the race with 7 minutes to go. Back with the leaders. They've gone through our shot all four together. Still Sant, Colfer, Kellett and Miller, with Tom Olewski back in P5 ahead of Nye. Fox up to 7th now, so he's picked up a few more places. Nye is his next target, and then Pollock, Webster and Waugh in the top 10. So despite the contact, Waugh is back into the top 10 already.
Indeed, yeah, impressive stuff from the drivers having issues earlier on in this race, and same as you mentioned for Fox, though, continuing to try and close back in to that leading pack. But it looks as though Gary Miller, as you say, has done that now, so making what was a group of 3 now into a group of 4. As I saw outside the window there, we are pretty much side by side for the race lead. As here we are then into turn 1, looking round the outside then, looking to make the move, and that is Graham Colfer then back into the lead of this race then. Sant down to second, Kellett looking to make up the place as well on corner exit. I think a bit of momentum just lost there through the right-hander for your previous race leader, and Sant will now drop back into 3rd place. So Kellett still, as he has been doing the rest of the race, just slowly but surely picking off his rivals, and now he's only got one driver between himself and an inaugural win for the season here, considering he's rocking that number 1. Of course, your champion from last year. He's going to want to start off this season with a win, but the drivers around him making it a little bit more challenging to do so. And like I just said a couple of moments ago, Gary Miller is joining the party as well. Definitely do not count him out either.
Yeah, Gary was actually the fastest out of the 4 cars on that last lap. He did a 2:09.983 compared to everyone else that was doing mid to late 2:10. So he's definitely got the pace back in that number 42 car. That's certainly taken the inspiration livery-wise from the, you can see it there, look, the Dick Johnson Racing Shell powered livery machines. The inside there is Luke Waugh getting to more shenanigans. This is now with Marco Ricci to his inside. And looks like he's got enough pace on exit to go up through the gears. And if he can hold on to the position into the left hand, yes, makes the move, and the Marco Ricci continues on. And the next adversary that Luke Waugh will have right behind him is the true sponsored car, number 47, James Pope, another Fiesta Junior graduate from a couple of years ago. So keep an eye on him if he can move up another place into 12th. Leaders come back through Brundle and Nelson, and I imagine now that Sant is back into 3rd place, that might want to negate any possibility to penalise it, because of course he hasn't gained any, he lost the advantage he had. He's lost 2 places, so the fact that he lost 2 seconds on the next lap after he made the shortcut regardless of how he got there, and then lost 2 places. He shouldn't, in my mind, gain a penalty, but we'll wait and see if anything happens. Saw Maggie Webster there going through, and that was Jack Sant giving a little bit of a headbutt into the back of Graham Colfer's car. Come on, get on with it. I've got better pace here. That was Kelly, in fact, actually. My apologies. That's the reason why it's so confusing having 3 of his cars on the grid for 24, 25 of this year, because now I thought that was Jack Sant's car. It's not. It was Kelly into the back of Colfer, and I made the mistake. I thought Sant had been trying to get him back for thinking, right, I've let you pass. Now get out of my way. But there goes Sant, in fact, up the inside to try and pass his the champion. Past the champion in his new car using his old car from last year. Makes sense? No? Right, we'll carry on. Miller wants to try and get past 2 for 3rd position if he can, moving this way and that. And I have a feeling with 4 minutes to go, this ain't done by a long shot.
No, 100%. It definitely isn't. Well, in the battle we saw earlier on, I don't think it's unfair to say that I think Luke Waugh might be losing a little bit of pace, courtesy of that incident he had with Horobin a few laps ago. I think he's losing a bit of performance with that car. It is very much dinged up now after race number 1. A little bit of fixing to do prior to race 2 tomorrow. But we continue to watch these top 4 then. Yeah, like you say, Jack Sant, he's given up the bit of advantage he got from that off-track moment. The only reason I could think still for a penalty was the fact he kept it absolutely pinned across the grass to rejoin the circuit. You hit one molehill there and suddenly you're losing control of the car, so you want to be backing off over the grass and rejoining safely. That's the only reason I could think that there might still be a penalty on the cards of Jack Sant, but we'll wait and see. As we said earlier, that's for people much smarter than us to decide. But these 4 will continue to battle through the last few minutes then. Still Colfer in the lead, followed by Kellett, Sant and Miller. We saw Gary getting feisty at the beginning of this lap, getting sent to the outside line as they headed down through Wilson, was not able to find a way through on Sant. Sant still looking aggressive though, tried to find his way back through on Kellett, but again, Kellett absolutely methodical in his driving, not spooked by the young Sant behind him, held his line firm and holds 2nd place, and he is still looking aggressive here to try and steal over the race lead, isn't he? He's biding his time. He knows he's got a couple of minutes to go. He's very experienced in these ST240s, and he's just studying the back of Graham Colfer's car at the moment, isn't it? Trying to spot where Graham, it maybe isn't quite as quick as Alistair, for where Alistair can make that move over the last couple of laps. And these 2 still absolutely going at it as well. The 12 and the 118, Pollock and Webster, that is. Those 2 battling over 8th place.
Yeah, Brady and Maggie having a good fight there towards the base of the top 10. Maggie, again, as we mentioned, got a taste of an ST150 again last weekend when she was racing in the Vinyl Detail Fiesta ST150 Championship as a one-off and did pretty well. There goes Jack Sant. That's Jack Sant trying to go down the outside from Alistair Kellett. Again, I got confused again because the 2 cars are so similar. But Kellett is now holding on to 2nd place. Sant trying to go down the outside to take 2nd from him. And as a result, look at Gary Miller going back up the inside line. Now, in terms of time left, I think they're probably going to get. I think they're going to get just 2 laps. I think because the time across the line said 17 minutes 38, and lap times are 2 minute 10, 2 minute 11. So that suggests to me that you need it to be about what 17:50 to get to, or beyond 17:50 in terms of race time after the 20. In my head, to get to a point where you hit on the last lap of the race. I think we're going to be 2 laps to go here between the ST240s. So they come back down towards the hairpin. This is now George Fox though, who is into 6th position and has caught Kasper Tomilewski here. And it's really going to be all 3 of Kellett's cars in the top 5 eventually at some point. That's been quite extraordinary. Now Miller goes side by side with Sant, throws a little out of it, away you go, and just holds on to the place where he can. Back on the power. And Miller's up into 3rd place now. Sant back to 4th. Even if Sant doesn't make it onto the podium, 4th place for him and a front row start is still very impressive on his first senior race out of Fiesta Juniors. Of course, and these cars have pretty much, I think, something like double the horsepower and a turbo on them compared to the Fiesta ZTEC S that he's been racing the last couple of years in Fiesta Juniors. So to get used to that power pretty quickly and to be on the pace and be up there challenging the likes of Kellett and Miller, who are very experienced in these cars and this championship. Really good stuff, and mega for his confidence going for the rest of the year. The fact he has Kellett's car from last year also helps, of course. It's a well-sorted car, but even so, he needs a good driver to try and handle it well, and he is doing quite a good job in this mix. So I think for any cases, for a good senior debut, not a bad job so far.
He's been mightily impressive throughout this race so far, hasn't he? Not only has the fastest lap of the race so far, but has shown that he can battle it in with the experienced guys at the front, as well as both our top 2 get up on 2 wheels there through Murray's, as we will now just about head on to the last lap of the race then, looking out the window to make sure we are getting that right. Yes, indeed. Final lap board is out then, and Graham Colfer will lead us onto it, but he's got the charging Alistair Kellett Kellett right on his rear bumper. And positively for Alistair, Miller and Sant battling on the last lap has just dropped them out of touching distance of these two. So Keller has free rein here to try and send a move, but Colfer's going to do all he can to try and keep him behind. And of course now with 1 lap to go, Miller and Sant have the push on as well. Come on, you got to get on with this or the lead is going to slip away.
But of course, remember we said this before, if these two keep on battling amongst each other and they get into a fight here, it's easy for both Miller and Sant to try and close back in here. Of course, it's easy for the cars behind to close in if these two start squabbling, and Colfer looks like he's got this one held down right now. Now, in terms of from last year, again, as far as I'm aware, I don't believe Graham Colfer has won the Fiesta ST240 race outright. He may well have won a race when it comes to in the AM class, but when it comes to the actual overall stakes, I don't think he has won one before at all. And Graham, of course, he was very impressive last year, getting quite quick. Of course, no one of the Irish imports from the Emerald Isle, from the Irish motorsport scene. Of course, Kellett's won, Miller's won on top of that as well, and others. Has been mightily impressive and had some very good form last year. In a couple, I think, there were relatively guest outings, if I'm correct, for Graham Colfer. This time, though, attacking the full season and proving why he's pretty quick. Yeah, Graham Colfer did do a couple of rounds, but no, hasn't won a race yet. This could well be a first victory for Graham Colfer if he holds on for the next few corners, unless Kellett finds something in these last few turns to try and make it stick as they come up towards the complex for the final time. It's going to be an Irish 1-2-3. The question's got to be on this one, Ratters. Which order is it going to be? And is it going to be a first win for Colfer or another victory racked up for the defending champion? Or dare I say for Gary Miller, as Jack Sant just appears from the left-hand side, having skipped the chicane, but up towards the final couple of the corners, this could be possibly a momentous occasion for Graham Colfer if he can pick up a first win in Fiesta ST240s, if he can hold off no less the defending champion for the final two corners.
Another off-track moment there for Jack Sant, less than ideal, loses him a bit of time, but what a first race it's been for him. Colfer holding on to it through the final couple of corners. It will be a run to the line between these two. Can Kellett get a good enough exit here, use the slipstream and pull alongside? It will be a run to the line, but it is going to be Graham Colfer who takes the win at the opening race of the season here in the AIRTEC Motorsport Fiesta ST240 Championship. What a great race at the sharp end of the order. Foxlow getting back into the top 5 there on the final lap as well, finding a way through on Kasper Tomaszewski. Both Sant and Tomaszewski did themselves proud there in that race. Very impressive performances from those two, but just missing out on the podium. That goes the way of Colfer, Kellett and Miller. 3 names I think we can expect to be up at the sharp end for the entirety of this season.
One thing we should also mention as well is that all the Fiesta Junior graduates in this championship, both first time or from history, all in the top 11, we can mention, because of course that was excellent for them. So that was Jack Sant was the best of them in his senior racing debut, 4th. Foxlow was 5th. Tomaszewski 6th, a 4th, 5th and 6th in a row for the 3 Fiesta Junior graduates there. Then Webster was 8th. And James Pope was 11th. So excellent stuff for all of those involved that were racing in that order. But yeah, great work from Graham Colfer, who I believe that is a first victory in Fiesta ST240s outright for Graham Colfer. Amazing job for him. He'll be absolutely delighted with that. And it's another Irish winner. They do love their Fiestas and their Ford racing over in Ireland. Of course, they have the ZTEC Championship and they have the STs. How long is it going to be before they get these STs over there, have a bit of an Irish champion? How cool would that be to have an Irish ST240 champion? That would be amazing. Of course, it's becoming one in many cases because it's filled out the top 3 positions in the order. So to confirm the podium very quickly, or confirm the finishing order, Graham Colfer with a AM class win, and of course, overall, it's not the first time we've had that before, but an AM class winner and overall for Colfer. Kellett, the defending champion, 2nd. Miller, 3rd. Sant on his debut, 4th from the front row. Foxgo recovers to 5th. Then Tomaszewski, Knight, Webster, Reynolds, Ritchie and Pope in the top 11. Then Hayes, War, Cooper, Chambers, War, Brady Pollock, who pitted. And Simon Horrobin, who also pitted after he made contact with War at the hairpin as well. Turbo tin tops in the form of ST240s on slicks, always fantastic entertainment.